Hey there, guys, and welcome back to Utility Sports. And if you do enjoy our NFL content, please subscribe to our channel. We would really appreciate your support. And also like the video if you do enjoy what you see today. For this video in particular, we are going over the MVP candidates in the NFL. I think it's a close race between 1 and 2. So it's kind of a toss-up between Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, as you can see here. The completion percentage, almost identical. The yards are it's actually a 500-yard difference in yards. The touchdowns, Rodgers has more touchdowns. Mahomes has less interceptions, and Mahomes has slightly more yards per attempt. And for me personally, I would have Patrick Mahomes as my number one. Just what he does for an offense, he's phenomenal. He's what makes that offense run so smoothly. And it's really hard to argue with the Aaron Rodgers argument because he's a phenomenal player. He has made Green Bay really, really relevant, obviously, in his entire career. But, he's just been phenomenal this year. Him and Devontae Adams are, you could argue, the most dynamic quarterback wide receiver duo in the entire league. I think it really comes down to these two guys here. Mahomes and Rodgers, they both do, different things. They both can, stretch the field. They can throw to all three levels, short, intermediate, long. I really like these two guys as the MVP candidates. I'd have Patrick Mahomes, just considering the yardage difference is probably enough for me. Obviously, Rodgers has 5 more touchdowns, but it's really hard between these two guys. I really like both of these quarterbacks in terms of what they do on the field, and I think it goes down to one of those two. But for me, it's Mahomes slightly taking the edge here. Less picks, 500 more yards, but he does have 5 less touchdowns. But I do think that he should be the slight MVP front runner. But let's give a lot of credit to Aaron Rodgers and what he's done so far this season. But looking at some of the other guys, I think number 3 is Russell Wilson. Obviously, he had an incredible start. A lot of people thought he was going to win MVP this season for sure with how the first couple of weeks played out. But obviously, they don't award the MVP after the first couple of weeks. It's a whole season. It's a whole process, whole grind. He's completing 70% of his passes, which is incredible. He has 3,400 yards, 32 touchdowns, but he does have 11 interceptions, which that is going to hurt him in the MVP case because obviously Aaron Rodgers only has 4. Patrick Mahomes only has 2. But don't get me wrong. He was definitely the MVP front runner. However, he's had a couple more interceptions than the top 2 guys, and I think that's what's going to hold him back in this MVP race. But 2 other guys, you have to really consider. Dalvin Cook has absolutely carried the Minnesota Vikings. He has 1,200 yards rushing. He has 13 rushing touchdowns, which leads the NFL in that category. He's also averaging 113 yards per game, which is just incredible on the ground, and that leads the NFL in that category as well. He also has 314 yards to tack on from the receiving end. So he's really doing it all for the Vikings. He has a high volume in that offense with Kirk Cousins, and they really rely heavily on him to win football games. And if they're rushing the ball well, they're likely going to win the football game. And Dalvin Cook means the absolute most of that Minnesota Vikings offense. It's a huge difference with him in versus with him out of the lineup. So I think that's another guy that definitely deserves some consideration. And then another guy, we're going to give some love on the defensive side of the football. We have Aaron Donald. He has 12.5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss. He also has 24 QB hits. He's an absolute disruptor in the middle of that Rams defense. He's a big reason why they've been a top-tier defense this season. I think that what he can do in generating interior pressure on the quarterback, it really makes it tough for a quarterback all day long when they're facing the Rams because he is just such a disruptor. You can try double teams, whatever you want, and that's he's gonna either blow through that or it's gonna cause somebody else on the D line to ultimately get a sack because he is getting doubled. So you got to give a lot of credit to Aaron Donald, and defensive guys do not get enough consideration, especially now in an offensive league where quarterbacks are obviously the prized possessions and will likely be selected for an MVP. But we do need to give some consideration to Aaron Donald just because of how dominant he's been, especially this year, the last couple of years, but especially this year, he's been phenomenal. You really got to give him a lot of credit. And some of the other guys I do want to kind of highlight just quickly. Ben Roethlisberger. Obviously, Pittsburgh has been phenomenal this season. They have the one stain on their record, and that's against Washington. But overall, he's had a phenomenal year. He's the reason why that offense is really churning along. And it's just really incredible what he's able to do at his age. Also, same goes with Aaron Rodgers at their age as they continue to get older. I mean, sometimes they just keep getting better. So, I mean, that's the case for Aaron Rodgers. He's having one of his best seasons in his career, if not the best. But also for Big Ben, really great job. I was not expecting this kind of season from him. Another guy that you should also look at, Josh Allen's had a phenomenal season with the Bills. He's been a big reason why they've been so competitive in that AFC, and especially the AFC East. And he's likely going to be the reason why they're going to be able to sit atop of that AFC East when it comes playoff time. But a lot of credit to Josh Allen there. Let's see who else they had in consideration on this website here. They also had Alvin Kamara. He's been phenomenal. Derrick Henry. They have Devontae Adams, Myles Garrett. A lot of guys, that do deserve some consideration and some acknowledgement of how they've played so far this season. But, some of the running backs are going to get overlooked. Like Alvin Kamara he's been absolutely incredible with the Saints, with Breeze in the lineup, with Breeze out of the lineup. It doesn't matter. He offers that consistent offensive player. So I got to give a lot of credit to some of those guys. So thanks everybody for watching. I do appreciate you watching the video. Please let me know in the comment section below, who do you think deserves the MVP? I'm really interested in seeing that and like to have some dialogue down in the comment section. So thank you so much for tuning in, and can't wait to see you in the next video.